fun song. We're going to take a look at, of course, Venus by Shocking Blue. Now, Shocking Blue was, yeah, they really got to go down as a one-hit wonder from the early 70s. This was from their second album called At Home, and they hit it big with a new singer, Mariska Veres, who you know, stayed with them for a few years, made some very... the video for this is just chock full of 60s. Psychedelic, mysterious, anyway. Fun song to play, some complicated rhythm stuff going on in it. We're going to take a look. We're going to start with just the chord progression. Most of the chords are pretty easy to play. We're going to need a couple of bar chords. We're going to need a C. We're going to probably play it up at the 8th fret. But the whole thing could be played really without any bars. We do need the double time strumming for that intro, the big the Pinball Wizard borrowed thing from Pinball Wizard. And we'll probably even take a look at it. Let me see. Try it again. So I don't know. I might delve into the lead a little bit too, because it's very short and there's kind of a cool thing happening in there. And I think that's about it. In the next segment, we'll talk about the chords, and it's a very simple progression. Basically, we've got a Dorian progression, E minor to A, with a change that's usually happening on the up. That's the gist of the song. Then of course we have the same thing, a cool little run, and the same progression of fourth higher. So anyway, coming up, the chords, then a lot of talk about the strumming and the rhythm, and we'll kind of work through the parts to Venus. Most of the chords we need in Venus are your basic chords. The chord progression is E minors to A's for like 8 measures, and then, although in the last measure stays on E minor, but then A minors to D's. So the gist of the song can be played with just A minor, D, and E minor, and A. I'm going to be playing the A's a couple of different ways depending on what's going on, and later on we'll take a look at kind of incorporating the bass section, and we'll even be playing the A at one point with your third finger doing a hinge bar like you might use here, and so we will see that happening oddly enough in the song too. The only other 2 chords we need, well, there's a few other things happening. We need a C chord. You could play the C open, and the only other chord that really should be played as a bar, there is going to be an open way to play, we'll talk about it, but the C you could play open here. I would usually go to the 8th fret though, and use the E family for the C's that we need here, because it's usually going to be followed by the B7 sus4 that we'll get to in a second. I want to talk about some of the different strumming things that happen in this song. First, take a look at the second line of the tablature, which is just the E minors and the A's. Because the basic rhythm guitar part, the basic acoustic guitar part, would be done just in single time, where we're doing downs and ups at the speed. Each stroke is an 8th note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But the chord changes happen on the and just before the accented beats, beats 1 and 3. So we see this. The E minor, we see 2 8th notes, which would be down and an up, and then a dead one by killing it with your little finger laying down across the strings here, and then catching the A on the up on the and of beat 2. And it'd be and 3 and then dead on 4. So typically when you're playing percussion on the guitar, you kill beats 2 and 4. Almost where snare drums would be in a lot of rhythm patterns that drummers would use. There you have the lead. Now this is only an approximation, what I could kind of hear and figure out, and maybe altered a few things, but kind of got the main idea of what's happening there. Really important thing about this is that some of these notes are very quick, and in order to make this work, you have to go back into double time picking. And if you take a look, or double time strumming, downs and ups. If you take a look at the, if you just look at the rhythm, we see 16th notes, and that means our hand for most of it, at least for the first 3 measures, needs to be moving at the speed of 16ths, which means we have to get into our 8th note downs 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that first little lick, that's about the trickiest part as far as speed goes. The rest of it is, and then it happens again in the 3rd measure, pretty much the same. But, so we're looking at notes here, pairs of notes that are a 1/6 apart.